Can you love somebody forever, no matter what?
All right, Jada Pinkett and Will Smith, I'm doing this and then moving on from you two. I'm so tired of this. So, Will asked those rhetorical questions to the audience in Baltimore as he showed his support for Jada following the release of her memoir, Worthy.
Can you show up and love somebody for the rest of your life, even when you don't agree with them?
But Will, those are not the questions that relate to your marriage now. Like, you answered those questions 3.5 years ago. Like, you and Jada separated in 2016. And then in 2020, you learned about, the intimate relations that Jada had with August. And then you answered these questions for yourself.
Jada's the best friend I have ever had on this planet. And I am going to show up for her and support her for the rest of my life.
Will answered yes, he stayed. And that's his choice, that's his business, and that stayed in the private sphere. In the public sphere, they're carefree, happily married. And Jada made an important distinction that I relate to on the Today Show this week.
Since 2016, you had to have been pretending a little, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, I wouldn't say, we got to be careful with pretending, right? Because Will and I love each other.
Right.
Right? And so all the love that you guys have
was
seen.
real.
That's real.
Yeah, in terms of my sexuality, like being gay, I very much distinguish between, I very much remember the last time that I lied about my sexuality, and then it was years later when I publicly acknowledged my sexuality. So yeah, there's a difference between, lying and pretending than just, withholding, like not saying. So yeah, I understand what Jada's saying there. And in those years in between, I heard the talk about me, and Will and Jada heard the talk about them.
People might have thought that, they must be having an open relationship. And we just didn't want people to know the dynamic of what was happening between us. We didn't think that that was anybody else's business.
That's true. And yeah, Jada and Will let that chatter go unaddressed.
I don't really have a choice but to express my truth.
Until August did an interview on June 30th, 2020, where he insinuated that he and Jada had intimate relations.
And I truly and really, really deeply loved and have a ton of love for her.
So Jada's hand was being forced here, and yeah, she had to make a choice. And Will, if you want to make it a rhetorical question, it's, would you sacrifice your own reputation for the reputation of your marriage? And Jada said, nope.
It's a situation that I consider private.
You just feel like it ain't really nobody's business.
Yeah.
10 days after August's interview, Jada and Will did the Red Table Talk.
So what happened, Jada?
Okay, so let's start with...
The talk isn't to deny, it's to offer an excuse for her, relations with August, so people stop slamming her as a cheater.
I was done with your ass.
Yeah, you kicked me to the curb.
I was done with you.
Yeah, I got into a different kind of entanglement with August.
So yeah, Jada was doing this to salvage her public image, and then she was also doing it through the means of her Facebook watch show because it's going to benefit that show and help her professionally because it's going to get huge ratings. And Anna pointed that out on The View.
I think she's having a relationship with her bank account because every time she needs to increase the ratings of the Red Table, every time she needs to sell books, she drops these bombshells. I find it unseemly.
I find it smart.
I will tell you
I find it smart.
Yeah, it is smart. I don't think that's something to be condemned at all, but I don't think it's something that we need to, let go unacknowledged either. It's not I need ratings or I need to sell books, so we need to come up with a bombshell. It's the reverse. I've decided I want to address the August situation. I might as well do it through Red Table Talk to benefit that show. And then her and Will withheld the very small piece of the puzzle that they really thought of themselves as divorced for another 3 years because they were figuring it out, as she said on the Today Show this past week.
I think just not being ready yet. Still trying to figure out between the two of us how to be in partnership, right?
And then at some point they decided, okay, we're ready. And then it becomes another thing. It becomes, okay, how are we going to reveal it?
How do we present that to people?
So they could do it in a social media post, like Tamar Braxton just did a couple weeks ago, revealing her split. Or they could do a sit-down interview like Harry and Meghan did with Oprah to talk about their split from the royal family. But Tamar didn't make any money off that post, and Harry and Meghan didn't make any money for the interview with Oprah. So the one avenue to make money off announcing your split is to do it in a book, in a memoir. Jada knows if I tell a publisher that my memoir is going to include a revelation about my marriage to Will, her advance is much higher than if she tells a publisher, my memoir is not going to include a revelation about my marriage to Will. Yeah, the paycheck that she gets in advance to write that memoir is much higher. But to do it through a book means you're now working off a publisher's timeline. You're not working off your own timeline of when you're ready. So they were ready. And then instead of doing a social media post that day, they decide, let's put in the book. But that means we got to still withhold that information publicly for another probably 2 to 3 years. So that's what they decided to do.
I don't know too many marriages that are traditional. I really don't. I think everybody's so scared to talk about all of the different ways that they're trying to figure it out.
So it's knowing me that Jada's selling this like, other people are scared to do this. I'm not scared to do this.
I would just say, Jada, I see you, sis, and I celebrate you. I celebrate your courage to be free to speak your truth.
Sure, if you want to call the actual act of Jada revealing that her and Will thought of themselves as divorced, as courageous or brave, sure. But I mean, let's not ignore the fact that she did it through a book. Like, I mean, she could have just told people that. Like, when I was ready to address my sexuality or acknowledge my sexuality publicly, I just told people. I didn't find a way to make money off that.
Will and I decided we were not together, where we didn't tell the public.
Right, and the 2 times that Jada acknowledged it publicly was because it was going to benefit her professionally. And that's okay to acknowledge. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with doing that. I'm just saying, like, let's call a spade here, right? Well, the real question to pose to people is, what dollar figure would get you talking about your marriage? And you and Jada, whatever that dollar figure was, decided that's a dollar figure that's going to get us talking about our marriage. You made that choice. And I'm not saying you're wrong to make that choice. Yeah, what do you think of this whole thing? That seems to be left out of the narrative here, that Will and Jada did this or doing this through the means of making money.